A brilliant afternoon of sunshine produced a tough day of 10K running, but as is usually the case, Guyana's Little Kenyan, Cleveland Forde, was a class above the rest, breaking away from the pack from Thomas Lance to cross the finish line ahead of his competitors in a winning time of 33 minutes and 42.0 seconds. With about 1,000 meters to go in the top three in Winston Masinga, Cleveland Thomas, and Forde battling, Forde upped the ante and made his move for the win. Thomas finished second in 33 minutes and 51 seconds, while Masinga was third in 34 minutes and 5 seconds, as the trio has now swept both legs of the South American 10K, with one leg remaining to go in Panama. Last year's winners of the event, Curtis Cox, finished fourth in 34 minutes and 18 seconds, while Junior Ashton of St. Vincent and the Grenadines was fifth in 35 minutes and 53 seconds. This is Forde's first time winning the genuine gold medal that the Athletics Association of Guyana introduced 3 years ago. Here's Forde on the win.
It went almost as planned. Myself and Messinger and Thomas. The idea was to work together. Of course, you see, I didn't really have to. I didn't really have to work, so good for me. We were looking at Cox, and because we know you have a good 2.5K coming down to the end, and it was. But we moved away from him, and we decided to settle in. But then he eventually caught up with us, and we did what we had to do there, and stronger towards the end there, so we came 1, 2, 3.
Meanwhile, on the distaff side, Linda McDowell of St. Vincent and Grenadines took the race easily in a time of 39 minutes and 50 seconds. Grenada's Kenisha Pascal finished second in a time of 40 minutes and 44 seconds, while Maria Urquhart was third in a time of 44 minutes and 20 seconds. Shima Tyrrell finished fourth in 44 minutes and 28 seconds, while Ashanti Scott was in fifth in 46 minutes and 8 seconds. McDowell spoke on her victory.
Well, the race didn't go too bad, but they run it in too much sun. So hopefully next time they can run it a little bit later than 3:30. And also the route, they changed a piece of the route without us not knowing, so it was a little bit difficult still, but it was good.
And how do you find the competition here?
Well, it could have had more people in the international category, but just have to take what I get and run against who was here.
Meanwhile, Anthony Headaker was the first male junior to cross the line in a time of 35 minutes and 11 seconds, while Urquhart, who brought third in the open category, was the first female junior at the event. The male 45 to 55 Masters category was won by Cox of Trinidad, who was fourth overall in the race, while Llewellyn Gardner won the male 56 and over Masters category in a time of 43 minutes and 1 second. Carla Adams won the female masters category in a time of 51 minutes and 27 seconds. The athletes were presented with prizes at a ceremony immediately after the event. Tristan Joseph, Newsroom Sport.